The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species, each with their own customs, hierarchies and prejudices. Among them, the Zorathians were known for their strict caste system and unyielding pride. At the top of their society stood the royal family, revered as near-divine beings. But even among the royals, there was no room for imperfection. Princess Lyra of the Zorathians was born with a rare genetic defect, a faint discoloration in her otherwise iridescent scales. To her people, this was not just a flaw but a sign of divine disfavor. Despite her intelligence, kindness and diplomatic prowess, Lyra was deemed unworthy of her station. Her own family, fearing the shame she might bring, exiled her to a remote, barren moon to die. The moon, designated X.427, was a desolate wasteland. Its thin atmosphere offered little protection from the harsh radiation of its sun, and its surface was littered with jagged rocks and deep crevices. Lyra's pod crashed onto the moon's surface, leaving her stranded with only a limited supply of food and water. Her once pristine scales were now dulled by dust and exhaustion. As days turned into weeks, Lyra's hope dwindled. She had accepted her fate, believing that her people's judgment was final. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Enter Captain Elias Grant, a human explorer and scavenger. Elias was no stranger to the dangers of space. His ship, the Starblade, was a patchwork of salvaged parts, but it was reliable. While scanning X.427 for salvageable materials, his sensors picked up an unusual energy signature. Curiosity piqued. He landed near the source and soon discovered the crashed pod. When Elias found Lyra, she was barely conscious, her body weakened by dehydration and exposure. Despite her alien appearance, he recognized the desperation in her eyes. Without hesitation, he carried her to his ship, administering what little medical aid he could. First, Lyra was wary. Humans were known to be resourceful but unpredictable. She had heard stories of their greed and ruthlessness. But Elias was different. He treated her with kindness, offering her food, water, and a safe place to rest. Slowly, she began to trust him. As Lyra regained her strength, the two began to communicate. Elias was fascinated by her stories of Zorathian culture, while Lyra was intrigued by his tales of human resilience and ingenuity. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their shared experiences of loss and survival. One evening, as they sat in the Starblade's cramped cockpit, Lyra asked Elias why he had saved her. "You could have left me there," she said. Her voice tinged with both gratitude and curiosity. Elias shrugged. "I couldn't just leave you to die. It's not in my nature." He was her savior, her friend, and love of her life. Together, they had changed the course of history, proving that even in a vast and unforgiving galaxy, compassion and courage could overcome even the most entrenched prejudices. Lyra and Elias's story became a beacon of hope for those seeking to challenge the status quo and forge a more inclusive and accepting future. Their bond had transcended species and cultures, showing that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, people from different worlds could come together and create something beautiful. As they stood together, looking out into the stars, Lyra turned to Elias and smiled. "You once told me that everyone deserves a second chance," she said. "I think you've shown me that everyone deserves a first chance, too." Elias smiled back, his eyes shining with warmth. "I think you've shown me that, too," he said. "And I'm grateful to have been a part of it." Their story was far from over, but one thing was certain: Lyra and Elias would face whatever challenges came their way, side by side, as equals, and as friends. He was the one who had shown her the power of mercy and the strength of the human spirit. Years later, Lyra stood on the balcony of the royal palace, looking out over the city. She reflected on her journey, from being rejected and left to die to being saved by a single act of kindness. She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them with courage and compassion. Elias, her trusted advisor and closest friend, joined her on the balcony. "You've come a long way," he said, smiling. Lyra nodded, her scales shimmering in the sunlight. "We both have. And we're just getting started." Together, they looked toward the horizon, ready to face the future. In a galaxy filled with darkness, they had found a light born of mercy, resilience, and their unbreakable bond.